Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I'm excited to present to you a fascinating and timely topic: conventional and modern space warfare, India's position and response to extraterrestrial scenarios. Today, we'll explore how space warfare is evolving, India's strategic stance in this new frontier, and how we are preparing for unprecedented situations involving extraterrestrial contact. We'll also look at both traditional threats and emerging challenges in this fifth domain of warfare. I look forward to sharing these insights with you. This presentation is made and presented by ADV, PI, Paradish Royal. Let's take a closer look at how space has evolved as the fifth domain of warfare. Historically, space was viewed primarily as a peaceful realm for exploration and scientific discovery. However, in the 21st century, that perspective has shifted dramatically. Space is now a contested military domain, joining land, sea, air, and cyber as critical battlegrounds for national security. This strategic evolution reflects the increasing importance of orbital assets for communication, navigation, and surveillance, making space a vital part of modern defense strategies. India's approach to space exemplifies this dual reality. We are committed to peaceful space development, focusing on scientific progress and international cooperation, while simultaneously strengthening our defensive capabilities in space. This balanced approach helps position India as a responsible space power, one that promotes peaceful use, but is also prepared to defend its orbital assets if needed. Looking back at the Cold War era, we see the foundations of modern space militarization. The US and Soviet Union were the pioneers, conducting anti-satellite tests and deploying spy satellites for intelligence gathering. These early efforts set important precedents, testing kinetic anti-satellite weapons, developing co-orbital interception systems, and establishing intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms. They also laid the groundwork for strategic communication and navigation infrastructure, elements that continue to shape how nations view space as a military domain today. Let's dive into some of the key technologies and players shaping modern space warfare today. First, dual-use technologies are a game-changer. For example, commercial megaconstellations like Starlink are primarily designed for civilian use, providing internet access across the globe. However, they also have significant military applications, which creates new vulnerabilities and strategic dependencies. These systems make it harder to draw clear lines between civilian and military space infrastructure, complicating the strategic landscape. Next, we have non-kinetic warfare methods. These include tactics like radio frequency jamming, GPS spoofing, and cyber attacks targeting ground control systems. The advantage here is that they achieve operational goals without creating debris or physical destruction, what we call soft kill methods. This approach allows for more covert and less escalatory ways to challenge space assets. Moving on, AI-powered systems represent the cutting edge of space warfare technology. Autonomous operations, hypersonic weapons, and AI-enhanced situational awareness enable rapid responses and reduce the need for human intervention. These advances make space operations faster, more precise, and potentially more resilient. When we look at global space powers, the United States, Russia, and China lead both offensively and defensively. They've established dedicated space forces and demonstrated anti-satellite capabilities. Meanwhile, NATO allies, France, Japan, and India are rapidly expanding their military space investments, creating specialized units and space commands. This shift toward integrated, multi-domain operations treats space as a vital part of broader military strategies. Overall, this evolving landscape highlights how space is becoming a central front in modern warfare, with increased cooperation and competition among a growing number of nations. The proliferation of capabilities among middle powers is reshaping alliances and deterrence strategies, making space a complex and dynamic domain for national security. India's military space evolution has seen significant milestones over the past few years. In 2019, we established the Defense Space Agency, which marked a major turning point. This move brought all defense space activities under a single, unified command, allowing better coordination between ISRO and DRDO. It was a clear step towards consolidating our military space capabilities. Then, in March 2019, we conducted Mission Shakti, India's first successful anti-satellite missile test. This demonstrated our indigenous ability to target satellites in low Earth orbit, specifically at around 300 kilometers altitude. Achieving this placed India in an elite group alongside the US, Russia, and China in terms of space-based missile capabilities. Looking ahead to 2025, India is developing a comprehensive military space doctrine. This strategy emphasizes layered defense systems, combining anti-satellite capabilities, missile defense, satellite protection technologies, and cyber defense measures to safeguard our space assets. It shows a clear focus on integrating space into our overall defense architecture. Central to this architecture are our GSAT-7 and 7A satellites. These platforms provide vital C4ISR capabilities, command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. They enable real-time communication between naval, air, and ground forces, ensuring situational awareness across the Indian Ocean region. The Defense Space Agency works closely with various stakeholders, integrating civilian capabilities from ISRO with military needs. This dual-use approach not only enhances efficiency, but also upholds our commitment to peaceful space exploration while maintaining strategic autonomy. All these steps reflect India's growing recognition of space as a critical domain for national security and strategic strength. Let's take a closer look at how space warfare has evolved from conventional to modern and hybrid approaches. On the conventional side, the primary focus has been on kinetic anti-satellite weapons and radio jamming techniques. These are more straightforward, physical or electronic methods to disable or interfere with space assets. In contrast, modern or hybrid space warfare relies heavily on AI-driven systems, cyber warfare, and non-kinetic soft kills. These newer methods can be less detectable and harder to attribute, making them more challenging to respond to effectively. When it comes to technology, conventional methods use missiles and co-orbital interceptors, physical hardware designed for direct engagement. Meanwhile, modern tactics employ cyber attacks, directed energy weapons, and laser systems, which can have lower debris risks and often produce reversible effects. Response strategies also differ significantly. Traditional approaches focus on deterrence and retaliation, aiming to dissuade adversaries from attacking. Modern strategies emphasize resilience, preemptive defense, and leveraging advanced analytics at the edge to anticipate threats. Continuous monitoring becomes essential to stay ahead of evolving tactics. Now, regarding the risks, conventional methods can create space debris and contribute to the Kessler syndrome, where debris collisions cascade. Modern approaches face attribution difficulties. It's harder to identify the attacker, and dual-use ambiguity, where civilian and military technologies can overlap. Escalation control also becomes more complex in this environment. Finally, on the legal front, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 sets foundational principles like peaceful use and bans on weapons of mass destruction. However, there are significant legal gaps, especially relating to military satellites and non-kinetic attacks. India, for instance, maintains a commitment to peaceful space use, but also asserts its inherent right to self-defense under UN Charter Article 51. This allows for defensive space capabilities while advocating for stronger international legal frameworks to better regulate activities in space. Understanding these differences and legal considerations is crucial as we navigate the complexities of modern space warfare and its implications for global security. India's position on space weaponization is quite clear and consistent with our broader commitment to peace. We officially oppose the weaponization of space and actively support initiatives like PAROS, which stands for Prevention of an Arms Race in Outer Space, in various international forums. This stance is rooted in our long-standing tradition of non-alignment and a preference for peaceful conflict resolution. At the same time, we recognize the importance of maintaining deterrent capabilities. While we advocate for legally binding international norms to prevent an arms race, we also understand the need to protect our space assets. So, we pursue a dual approach, promoting peace and norms on one hand, while preserving essential capabilities on the other. It's a balance between idealism and practical security needs in an increasingly contested space environment. India also emphasizes international cooperation, but with a focus on strategic autonomy. We work to enhance our space situational awareness and participate selectively in international partnerships. For example, we're involved in the Artemis Accords and have bilateral space cooperation agreements with major space powers. Ultimately, India sees space as a global commons, something that should be used for peaceful purposes. Yet, we also recognize the reality that we need to protect our assets and maintain credible deterrence. This balanced approach reflects our broader strategic philosophy, supporting multilateral solutions while maintaining independent capabilities to safeguard our national interests. Our space policy emphasizes transparency, confidence-building measures, and the gradual development of international legal frameworks to govern military space activities. Let's talk about the legal and protocol framework surrounding extraterrestrial contact. Currently, we face a significant legal vacuum. Most international treaties are designed solely around human space activities, which leaves a big gap when it comes to potential encounters with extraterrestrial life. In other words, there's no binding global framework to manage such scenarios, and that raises a lot of questions about how we would respond. Now, there are some protocols in place from organizations like the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs and the SETI Institute. These recommend that any response to extraterrestrial contact should be coordinated internationally, should prioritize peaceful approaches, and should involve comprehensive sharing of information before taking any action. But these are mainly guidelines, not enforceable rules. On the academic and science policy side, there's been increasing discussion about what's called the prime directive principles, basically non-interference protocols for potential ET contact. These aim to adapt existing diplomatic and military engagement rules to handle these unprecedented scenarios carefully and responsibly. The core challenge here is that we don't yet have established protocols for extraterrestrial contact, which creates serious policy dilemmas. For example, current frameworks assume interactions are between humans, so they don't clearly address what legitimate self-defense would look like against unknown entities. Questions like how sovereignty applies, or what international coordination mechanisms should govern responses, remain unanswered. Military planners are starting to recognize the importance of developing contingency protocols. These would cover everything from peaceful scientific exchanges to the possibility of hostile encounters. While standard rules of engagement, focused on proportionality and defense, would likely be relevant, implementing such rules in an extraterrestrial context would require unprecedented levels of international consultation and coordination. So, in essence, the absence of clear protocols makes handling extraterrestrial contact quite complex, and it underscores the importance of developing a robust, coordinated framework before any encounter occurs. Let's take a closer look at India's ET response framework and the strategic recommendations that come with it. First, regarding anticipated response protocols, even though India does not have an official doctrine specifically for extraterrestrial contact scenarios, our policy analysis suggests that India would likely follow established diplomatic principles. This means prioritizing international consultation, scientific coordination, and a preference for peaceful engagement. Essentially, India's response would mirror its broader foreign policy approach, emphasizing multilateral cooperation and avoiding any aggressive stance. Moving on to peaceful scenarios, India would support UN coordination mechanisms and promote international scientific cooperation. There's also the possibility of proposing extensions of humanitarian principles and perhaps even considering sentient rights frameworks for ET entities. Transparency and open information sharing would be key, helping to build trust and mutual understanding. In contrast, For hostile scenarios, the default would be non-aggression. India would escalate only in a defensive manner, based on clear threat assessments. The focus would be on seeking a robust international mandate, developing coordinated protocols, and prioritizing containment rather than confrontation. These strategies aim to protect national security while maintaining stability. Now, let's look at some strategic recommendations for India moving forward. First, enhancing space asset security is crucial. This involves investing heavily in cybersecurity, resilience engineering, and AI-powered defense systems to safeguard critical space infrastructure. Developing redundant communication and navigation capabilities ensures operational continuity, even under various threat scenarios. Second, advocating for international protocol development is vital. India should lead efforts within the UN and regional forums to establish clear legal frameworks governing space warfare and potential ET contact. These agreements would provide a structured approach and promote stability in space activities. Third, fostering civil-military integration is essential. Strengthening coordination between scientific institutions and military space commands enables rapid response capabilities. At the same time, maintaining democratic oversight and international consultation ensures the process remains transparent and responsible. Finally, addressing emerging challenges like space debris, attribution issues in cyberspace, and dual-use technologies requires enhanced international cooperation. Transparency and confidence-building measures are key to managing these complex issues effectively. In summary, India's response framework is about balancing diplomatic principles, technological resilience, legal frameworks, and international cooperation to navigate the unknowns of extraterrestrial contact responsibly and strategically. Let's conclude our discussion by emphasizing the importance of securing India's space future. As we've seen, space is becoming the ultimate strategic frontier, and the nature of space warfare is rapidly evolving. It's shifting from traditional Cold War-type kinetic weapons to more sophisticated cyber-enabled, AI-powered systems. These advancements challenge our traditional ideas of deterrence and defense, making it clear that we need to adapt quickly. India's strategic response has been impressive because it strikes a careful balance. We are working to enhance our national security capabilities, improving our situational awareness, cyber resilience, and credible deterrent systems, while also promoting international cooperation and peaceful use of space. This balanced approach helps safeguard our interests without escalating tensions. On the diplomatic front, India's leadership in space governance offers a vital opportunity. By shaping emerging international legal frameworks, we can prevent the weaponization of space and ensure that all nations retain their legitimate defense rights. It's about responsible leadership and shaping a fair, secure space environment. And we must also prepare for the unknown. Humanity might face unprecedented scenarios, ranging from conflicts among great powers in space to potential contact with extraterrestrial life. India's measured, consultative approach provides a strong model for responsible space behavior, emphasizing stability and dialogue. Remember, as the quote on the slide suggests, the future of space security isn't about an arms race. It's about collective commitment, peaceful exploration, transparency, and working together to defend against common threats, whether they're on Earth or beyond. Moving forward, our path involves continued investment in defensive capabilities, active participation in setting international norms, and maintaining flexible response strategies. These steps will help us address both conventional threats and extraordinary scenarios. Ultimately, India's dedication to strategic autonomy, international cooperation, and peaceful space exploration positions us well. We're capable of navigating complex challenges while contributing to global space security and stability, ensuring a safe and prosperous future for all.